Welcome, Commanders, to our first video project for the Fading Dusk mod. In this briefing, we'll cover all of our capturable text structures and how they function, followed by a quick overview of some helpful keybinds you might not be using to their full potential. And we'll finish with a match played by yours truly, General Zap versus my fellow developer, Tiberius. The goal of this video is to help our newer commanders discover new ways to conquer the battlefield and make better use of the tools already at their disposal. Timestamps are included in the description if you'd like to revisit a specific topic. And let's start things off by going over our three economic structures, our newest being the gas well. This one provides a slow trickle of money. You might find it in the less populous areas such as tundras or simply some colonies. The larger cousin is the industrial plant. This one you will find mainly in cities or heavily fortified positions. And finally, we have the First War Refinery. Key thing to note about the First War Refinery is that it cannot be repaired due to how old the technology is. It is so run down that it is barely functioning to begin with. So use this while you can. And to follow those up, we have our support structures, is what I would call them. The first of which is, of course, the civilian array. The civilian array provides free radar and has the largest sensor array out of anything in the mod. Following that up is the Civilian Construction Depot. Kind of does what you'd expect it to. It doesn't give you any build options, but it does give you build radius. It is the only tech structure in the mod to give you build radius. And the last support structure is nice and simple. It is the Repair Depot. You can't build off of these ones, but they're usually closer to the front lines, so you can get those important units fixed up, such as the Mammoth Mark II, which is so large that the repair arms of repair trucks don't work on them. And here we have the two structures that you might also recognize, the first of which is the Civilian Hospital, which unlike Vanilla, this mod makes it so that it has unlimited uses. So if you're playing as a faction that doesn't have medics, maybe not, you can toss your infantry in and out of here as much as you want to get them back to full HP. And the Civilian Armory also functions about the same. It doesn't have unlimited uses, but it does have a much higher limit than Vanilla. I believe it's at least double in the current setting. And this is an easy one. This big power plant gives a lot of power and has a lot of health. This small one gives more power than a regular power plant but has less health. Now let's move to the many production structures, the first of which is the Equipment Factory. The Equipment Factory is going to get you a demolition dozer, a troop truck, and a repair truck. Demolition dozers are great for tearing down those pesky garrisons when you're engaging in urban combat, and repair trucks are just a all-around great support vehicle to have fixing up those other units. And the troop truck is just a fun unit to have. It actually can crush stuff though, so keep that in mind. And here is the recruitment center. Very nice to have on the front lines because it's going to give you access to engineers as well as a basic rifleman and a civilian doctor. Note that visually they are coming out of the colony barracks, but that is just because it is a barracks that produces infantry. So the colony barracks only makes colony guards, so it's also something nice to complement your armor on the front lines. I'll make a GDI barracks here so you can see that your faction-specific units will not come out of these civilian-type production structures.
Building. Construction complete. Training.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
The last production structure at this time is this civilian airfield. It will currently give you access to two aircraft, the Orca Solar Wing, or just a regular Solar Wing in this case, and the Stratojet. The Solar Wing is basically just an Orca bomber, good at taking out large structures, and the Stratojet is practically a Nod Helix. And let's move on to civilian defenses. You'll find these scattered around, sometimes defending these other civilian assets that you'll want to capture. The civilian pillbox here is the only one that can be captured by your own engineers, so if you manage to distract it with a transport, you can sneak one inside. I do recommend using a transport that has heavy armor on it though, so that you can at least get away with escaping with that transport when you're done and not have it be on the verge of death. And the next defense on the list is the civilian sniper tower. It does what it says on the tin. It'll snipe any infantry that come nearby. It'll kill most of them in one shot, and sometimes it can be pretty tricky to locate these things, so definitely listen for that suppressed rifle sound. And these next two are interesting because they can be put onto low power mode if you manage to take over all those civilian power generators. And something to note about the heavy artillery piece on the right here is that it has a highly exploitable minimum range. So if you're trying to move around these, keep that in mind. And our super weapons. These can only be captured if the Nuke Mageddon game mode toggle is turned on, and they do about what you'd expect. A big ol' explosion and a big ol' laser beam from God. And finally, we have the garrisons. Each time you capture one of these, you will get access to the garrison plugin, which is located at the bottom of your structure queue. Keep in mind, some of the structures, especially if they're smaller, might have less HP than the others, but that's not too much of a worry. And if you want to know if a structure is garrisonable, look for the little flags on the outside of the building. In most cases, they will be gray, at least in multiplayer, but for the single player campaign, you might find some special colors when it is needed. Garrisons are awesome due to their high durability. They will also shred any infantry that come near, so urban combat can be quite intense if you don't have some artillery or dozers with you. And that reminds me, it looks like I almost forgot our other two production structures here. The military factory is an important one. It's going to give you access to the city patroller, flak rover, light tank, light artillery, and missile hunter. These are great complements, very cheap and spammable for your frontline forces. And lastly is the First War factory. This is going to give you access to the Tiberian Dawn flame tank and the Tiberian Dawn light tank. And that wraps up all of the capturable tech buildings for you in Fading Dusk as of October of 2025. Up next, we're going to go over some keybinds for you that are going to be mighty helpful. One of the keybinds you're going to want is select same type. This is really helpful when you have a combined army of different units, so you'll want to have your anti-infantry units, of course, targeting the infantry, and your anti-armor targeting the armor. So if you don't have your control groups fully set up, select same type is going to save you a bit of micro in that regard. Next thing you're going to want is place building. This is going to allow you to directly bring your ready to place structure from the hotbar to your battlefield without having to click back and forth. I especially recommend you combo that with repeat building, because if you're playing someone with cheap defenses such as Nod, for example, you can then start dropping tons of lasers over and over, especially when you combo that with repair mode. You can keep your mouse on the battlefield the whole time in order to keep those lasers alive and getting pumped out while you still have your mouse in the right place to micro those units. Power mode is going to be helpful. If the player catches on and starts killing your power plants, you can disable all those out of range defenses, or a stealth generator if once again you're playing as Nod, to make sure everything keeps firing properly. Sell mode is also very important to have, especially when it comes to your economy. Not to mention, if you sell the building before it explodes, you deny the enemy the veterancy on their units. And the last one you're going to want is waypoint mode. This is really important for your Air Force, especially if you want to make sure they keep rearming or even repairing, depending on where you put those waypoints. We'll go more into that as we watch the video play out here. But wait, there's more. I completely forgot to mention my favorite keybind, which is the Select One Less Unit keybind. This will drop off one unit from your control group, or whatever you have selected, basically. It is incredibly useful when it comes to aircraft, because you can perfectly split your ammunition between enemy units or structures without having to use up all your control groups for a couple of aircraft. Once again, we'll see this a lot more in the match itself, where I will also explain some queue moving as well. Alright, we will see if I can actually sync up this audio properly with the match here. Doing it in post, as with the rest of the voiceover. Starting off, let's go over some scouting and anti-scouting. GDI has a really big advantage when it comes to scouting because, of course, we get the scout drone, which can just fly over everything, and some factions don't even have a tier 1 anti-air unit. Of course, my opponent here is going as Nod, so they very well could shoot it down, but since I made it so quickly and the map isn't very large, they did not have time to get a rocket infantry out to stop the scout. So I have pretty darn good vision on their base right now. Also, something that comes with time is obviously map knowledge. I know that on this map, Inferno Galore, there is an industrial plant just above my spawn here. I want to capture that as soon as possible because I know my opponent will be doing the same to his. I've also positioned a couple groups of infantry to deny any scouting from my opponent. I know that they do not have any flying units this early, so I don't have to worry about making anything like a hoplite.
Unit lost.
Infantry reporting.
I also made a harvester here, which isn't something that I normally do. I was trying out a new strategy just to see
Construction
if I could
complete.
find anything else that worked. Of course, with my scout there, I see his scout moving. I'm also going after the blue Tiberium with that harvester that I built. Once again, we'll see if it pays off. New strategy.
Moving out.
It is what it is. I've made some Wolverines because I'm expecting some aggression from my opponent
You got it.
in the form of maybe some buggies or bikes, and Wolverines are incredibly good against light armor.
Moving out. You got it. Out and clear.
I sold that refinery due to force of habit because of
Construction
the way
complete.
Tiberian Sun economy works. There is no soylent in this version of the game,
Building.
so you get back 50% of the structure's cost. In this case, since the structure is 2,000, I get back
Construction complete.
1,000. But if you
New
look, the
construction
cost of the
options.
harvester is
Building.
12 or 1,400 or something like that.
Unit
Needless to
ready.
say, I get a discounted harvester while still being able to produce units. However, I am very much out of money right now, and my opponent already has an expansion on his second field. He has done the very easy thing, which is base crawling over there. Don't neglect the good old-fashioned base crawl.
On hold.
I really should be focusing on getting my economy up and running, because clearly I've done something wrong and
Ready.
I'm out of money. Probably shooting myself in the foot with that blue Tiberium. Hard to say. It is worth more, but it's also somewhat far away.
Awaiting order. Awaiting order. Moving out.
Doesn't help that on one refinery my harvesters are stacking on each other.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
You got it.
We've got 6
Yes, sir.
Ravagers coming in, down to 5. They want to kill harvesters. If I was a little bit faster, I could have pulled it out sooner. But luckily for me, Titans are the best MBT in the game when it comes to dealing with other tanks. So that harvester survives with probably 2 or 3 hits left on it. My opponent is now up to 3 refineries. I have the 1.
Building.
Yet again, I should definitely be focusing on getting that economy up and running. But I love aircraft, so I've got to make them.
Unit ready. Insufficient funds.
Never stop scouting. That is also something important.
Construction
If you can't
complete.
see something, go take a look. I also, since I was scouting earlier, spot the helipad that my opponent is building, multiple, so I know harpies are on the way to me here soon. So I'm going to pull back. I probably should have just stuck it out,
Unit ready.
since 3 Titans could probably have rocked only 5 of those, and I would have denied my opponent that trickle income from his
Awaiting order. Infantry reporting.
industrial plant. I do make a hoplite, which is my nice tier 1 anti-air, which I was hoping was going to do a lot more, but because it has light armor, it turns out this one actually
Complete.
did not do what I wanted it to. And I want to be careful where I move those units to, because I know my opponent hasn't scouted me yet, and I don't want him to target a unit as it moves into the shroud, because that's going to allow him to get some free scouting on my base. Luckily, he didn't use those harpies to move in and scout the rest of me, so that at least buys me some time in this regard.
Building.
I really needed to be on top of it with these aircraft. My opponent is getting free range. I have 2 fully loaded orcas. They're doing nothing for me on the ground. Luckily, I do spot that he has an expansion node coming out, and by holding Q on my keyboard, I can see approximately where that unit is in the shroud, so I can move in and get the jump on it. Q is incredibly important. I mentioned earlier we would go over it some more, and Q moving is kind of exactly what it sounds like. If you hold Q by default on your keyboard, you will be able to add multiple actions, similar to the planning mode from Red Alert 2, where you hold Z. But in this case, it is Q. It has its quirks, but the way it's going to work for you, right there, hard to see, but I am using the select 1 unit less keybind. I had 2 Orcas fighters selected, pressed it once to drop off one of them so I could go split my ammo, because I didn't need 2 Orcas fighting the 1 red health tank. Unfortunately, I did not notice that my opponent had enough money to spit out a couple more expansion nodes, so my Orca fighters were unable to deny this one. And fun fact, after I sniped that first first expansion tunnel node guy, Tiberius was willing to call GG right there, but I had to point out the fact that he had a big ol' freaking army that he could fight back for me, at me with, and it's a good thing I did because we still got a couple different engagements here. I go for MLRS, which I'm hoping to do some damage with. I position them in a aggressive stance here on the water, encroaching on my opponent's base, which he can definitely see.
Silos needed.
Since I know he has those harpies still, I'm also making a couple javelins, which are GDI's best anti-air unit as far as I know. One thing I did not account for is the lovely quirk that is Tiberian Sun pathing. So my HMLRS decides to isolate itself as the others path away for some reason. And unfortunately for me, as you may have seen, I severely underestimated the damage output of those harpies. And not to mention, but he got lucky and one crashed onto a hovercraft and instantly killed it. Harpies are way cheaper than HMLRSs. So this is incredibly bad for me here.
Building.
I see he's spamming out a lot of infantry, so I am making the Phobos mechs. He has a lot more tanks than I do, so I really need to be on top of my what the heck was I saying? The aircraft, that's right, the Orca fighters. I need to be on top of my game with those to keep those tank numbers down, but I just am not at it. I'm clicking elsewhere. I at least do get an expansion up. Hopefully he doesn't snipe it with his harpies. I know that he hasn't scouted the southern side, so I am going to move it that direction instead. I definitely do not have enough infantry to counter his, especially if he goes in for a crush. The speed of Ravagers alone is going to be very detrimental to my infantry. And yet again, here come those stinking harpies. And I'm pretty sure, okay, at least that time I didn't lose anything. I needed to pull back a little bit further to get my defenses in range, so I am completely out of infantry. I can absolutely rock all of his tanks, but I'm not going to be able to do anything about those rocket infantry. Luckily, he is pulling them back, which is definitely a mistake at this exact moment. It gives me a chance to make sure that I keep my expansion secured. I'm also making my own infantry. Unfortunately for me, those Phobos are so incredibly slow that they are just not going to be here in time to stop these infantry from dealing their damage. I tried to sell it right there, the expansion point. Knowing how good my Phobos are against infantry, I should have just spammed down a couple of silos so I wouldn't have had to make another satellite node for expansion. That would have been $1,000 saved, where I probably would have only spent $900 on silos. As you can see, I am floating way too much cash right now. That is also another mistake. I could have many more Orca fighters as well. One Orca fighter is going to kill one Ravager. Right there, my Orca, or my HMLRS, did not do the Q move that I wanted it to. It's a little bit janky with the way Q moving works for hover locomotors, so I didn't get to kite those Harpies like I wanted to. And now I've got 2 Titans versus like 12 Ravagers, because my opponent has had a stronger economy this whole time. He has a working expansion, is working on a second, well technically a third expansion, down where that infantry blob is, where the industrial plant was. And all I really have is 2 Orcas. Had I not been floating this cash and instead gotten out those Titans like I really needed to, things might have gone better here. I also really needed to be more active with my Orca fighters, like I was saying, and I did not get any value for those HMLRS. And right here, those Phobos are so slow. So are my Titans, so what's he going to do? He's going to maximize on his speed. Why try to engage GDI in a full frontal assault when you can go around? My fastest unit is an Orca fighter, and that has to reload. So he's just going to walk in. I have my Titans miss rally pointed or whatever there. Here we go. At the very least, I get a quick waypoint loop set up so that I don't have to micro my Orca fighters. So, at least for a moment. They used up all their ammo and of course went to land, but I didn't have to click on any tanks. They automatically did that for me because with my waypoint mode keybind I was able to quickly set it up in a loop. 1, 2, 3, and click the 4th one back on the 1st, and we're good to go. This is a decent GDI death blob. I really need to break that bridge. As you saw, his entire infantry force was able to not get tickled by that blue Tiberian because all they did was walk across the bridge that I repaired. My economy is crippled yet again because I had so many harvesters on a single field. He snipes one of those harvesters, which deals a little bit of splash damage to my Vulcan tower, and the infantry move in. The only anti-infantry I have in this army is those Phobos, but they're so damn slow. I was caught out of position thanks to that bridge allowing his infantry to scooch over. And the tiny turret on a mobile satellite node is not enough. Oh, I forgot. Luckily for me, I was doing a little bit of a back-end attack. If I was better at microing, I might have gotten those Harpy helipads down too, at least.
Unit lost. Structure sold. Unit lost.
At the very least, I got
Unit lost. Building.
2 refineries out of the deal with some infantry that I forgot about. So, a decent trade. Yet again, I really need to be on top with these aircraft, but they are idly sitting there. And this makes me so sad. This is very unfortunate for me. I don't have enough Titans to finish off those Ravagers, and due to those slow Phobos, woo, them bullets fly. It's the caveat of projectile-based weapons and voxel turrets. Looks a little bit wonky in this lovely janky engine, but almost all of my Phobos get caught out in the open against those Ravagers. They are not good against heavy armor. My Titans sure are, but they weren't in position either, and I simply did not have enough. I think I was outnumbered 3-1 there. I did have an RPG turret. He does pull back.
Unit ready.
Attempting to thin out these forces.
Unit lost.
Looks like I accidentally clicked something. And yet again, the lovely slow Phobos is caught out in the open.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Attempting a Q move there, but an unfortunate lag spike means that they were not shooting as they walked backwards. So just a little bit of wasted DPS there, and refinery down. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you happen to take a look at the radar, I believe I'll expand this here in a minute, there is a lovely red bubble there. So if you've been paying attention, you'll have noticed that that stupid bridge that I repaired has allowed for some shenanigans to take place.
Unit lost.
We'll see when that gets expanded.
Structure
I sell off that
Unit
Vulcan
ready.
turret because it's, of course, out in the middle of nowhere, not shooting anything, so I'll take the money.
Building.
Too little, too late. Ah, here we go. There go those infantry. But where is
Construction complete.
my radar expansion? Oh, duh. I'm not watching the right replay, so it's not shown.
Building.
You'll see it in the video. There are some infantry in my base. Eva was very kind as to ignore them for me, so I did not know they were there.
Unit
And
ready.
yet again, they came over that bridge. This is rather unfortunate. I wanted to get back up to 2 war factories. Luckily, I already had one almost entirely done.
New
But he
construction
does
options.
use simply some infantry on my back door that I opened to go and kill my war factory. Not the worst setback since I already had one going, but that is an expensive structure. It would have been nice to have the ability to produce stuff in my main base, because now I'm spread out. My economy is greatly lacking compared to his.
Building.
He's got, let's see him here, what's that, another 12 Ravagers coming my way.
Construction complete. Unit ready.
I've got my Orca fighters, but they have to, oh, that's more than 12.
Preparing.
At least
Unit
7.
prepared. Unit
There's my
ready.
waypoint mode again. I don't want to micro these Orca fighters, so we'll try it here. Something else that is rather unfortunate, even though I am Q moving out of here, almost all of my Titans are now out of range, so all of my DPS is sitting behind my base when I could have been there shooting stuff. He gets a Harvester, that's all he wanted,
Unit ready.
so he pulls back. I do have time to get out a RPG, but as you can see there, I was smacking myself in the face because I sold off that refinery, completely forgetting that I have a fully loaded blue harvester right there that now has to travel all the way back to base because I am just out of money. I was tempted to keep it here in my base, but seeing how bad my economy is now, I decided to send it back to unload.
On hold.
Had I not sold off that refinery, maybe things could have been different. But look at that, yet again. The friggin' infantry from the bridge.
Building.
One RPG is not going to do anything against 15 light infantry. And my silly self pulls that blue harvester back
Unit lost.
to base.
Building.
All the way back.
Unit lost.
And there's my Wolverine,
Local
but it's way the heck over here. And these dudes are way the heck over there.
offline.
There's me attempting some power management so I can get my production back online. Almost sold the Vulcan Tower. It looks like it would have been better off sold to get the money back than it would have been for
Unit lost.
killing stuff because it died so quickly. That refinery's about to die. I don't want the money. Well, there is no money in there, but I wouldn't want it to get scattered on the ground, and I don't want too many more veteran infantry.
Unit lost.
At this point, I'm forced to basically try and squish anything that I can. Luckily, he was not scattering this time, likely because it warned him that his base was under attack, so he had to see what was going on. And look at that. Look at all my money blast onto the ground. I was hoping his DPS wouldn't have been high enough, but he had some elite infantry in there, so their damage was higher. I get lucky right there and happen to blast exactly where his expansion was with my first volley. So that's denied, but then, oh, look at that, a bunch of tanks and a couple of harpies.
Building online.
There's that power management for you. Since nothing's over there, I'll leave that off so I can produce at maximum speed.
Unit lost.
Though it is not looking good for me.
Construction complete. Building.
There, his harpies kill off my anti-infantry. Luckily, I forgot that I have a blue harvester sitting over there harvesting blue. So really the only reason I even lasted as long as I did in this game, after he took that map control and got that good blow in the back, is because he was letting me get away with the blue Tiberium.
Building.
On my way. Yes, sir. Unit
That power plant not doing me much good. Should have just sold it. Oh, luckily I do. Little bonus infantry for me.
Complete. Unit lost. Harvester under attack.
waiting order.
RPGs, very good against Titans, but look at that. Ravagers. Harvester down. He's got the damage he wanted to get done. Could have pulled out with those few tanks, but he already has like 12 more tanks in his base, so what's it matter? Not to mention, looks like he is now microing his infantry, which have, yet again, they're in my back door that I opened. Rather unfortunate. I don't have a war factory back there anymore to put any sort of defenses down. I have no money to repair. Things are dying quickly.
Sir, loud and clear.
Those aren't shooting anything, they're just eating power, so away they go as well.
Unit lost.
Unfortunately for me, my opponent never even used stealth, so I did not even need to use the engineer to capture that array in the end. And at this point, sure, it's a clutch save of the MCV. MCVs are quite resilient. They have a lot of hit points, and they have the strongest armor in the game. Even though it survives this wave of infantry, there is little I can do against my opponent with the stronger economy. My trades for my economy, as far as unit to value ratio, early on was terrible. I got caught out of position. He hit me with a misdirect. He was able to get those infantry in the back door, and his air power, I was not able to contest it. Hoplites let me down, and my HMLRS have light armor. Harpies are incredible against light armor, so a couple more javelins would have been nice, but my javelins got picked off early, so those HMLRS not doing what I needed them to do. My opponent gets map control and an economy, and I am in the dumps. So it's at this point, we already know it's GG. I'm hanging on for bare life just for the fun of it, to see if there's any magic I can pull out of a hat. Spoiler alert, there isn't. The biggest mistakes that I made this game were not getting my expansion down quite quickly enough. Of course, trying that interesting tactic with buying that harvester early on to see if I could sneak away anything with the blue. As far as I could feel this game, my economy was tanking because of it. I also went for an early aircraft. They sort of paid off, but at the end of the day, I really should have had those things elite due to his lack of anti-air. I think there's maybe a SAM site in his base, but I could have been roaming around with those aircraft a lot more effectively, forcing him to spend on anti-air and picking off a tank each time.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Waiting orders.
Unit lost.
And I'm attempting to Harv bomb, but harvesters in Tiberian Sun are very fun.
Lost.
They do not like to obey your commands. Even though he has so many more tanks than I, my Titans are still able to hold the line, but then his infantry comes in. Always remember to mix those armies. If he only had tanks, I would have gotten away with killing this entire army yet again, but those rocket infantry, those anti-armor specialists, do exactly what they're meant to and start picking me off. The little turret on my satellite node is trying its near darndest to do whatever it can, but it is over for me, far from Jover. Look at that, another red blob.
Harvester under attack. Unit lost.
And lovely pathing of the harvesters there. That's not what did me in. It was a slow crescendo of many
Unit lost.
mistakes. And that was the GG. So thank you everyone so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully my commentary actually gave you something to read. I'll post some matches where I actually win eventually, excluding the fights against our poor player base that decides to fight me, because that is cheating. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, and stay tuned for whatever we have coming next. Happy hunting.